The Compliance Perspectives podcast is sponsored by Case IQ, a global provider of whistleblowing case management and compliance solutions. Learn more at caseiq.com. Welcome to the Compliance Perspectives podcast. I'm Adam Turteltaub from the Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics and Healthcare Compliance Association. Joining us today from Des Moines is Ryan Redman, Product Manager Marketing for OnSpring, and joining us from Cleveland is his colleague Brett Sommers, who's Director of GRC Products. And today we're going to be talking about something on the scary side, which is how AI is changing the way cyber criminals execute attacks. Ryan, Brett, thanks for warning us about this subject. So what are they doing, and what should organizations understand about this shift, and what industries are most under attack?
Thanks for having us, Adam. I appreciate that. And it's an important topic. Certainly is scary, but it's also very exciting in terms of how we can remediate that. But in terms of the way that cyber criminals are executing these attacks and what organizations should understand about this shift and also the industries that are most under attack, the nature of these attacks is evolving very rapidly. These AI-generated phishing emails or voice cloning, things like phishing, which is a kind of a conglomeration or portmanteau of phishing and voice cloning, impersonation attacks, all those things are advancing economically and becoming nearly indistinguishable from legitimate communications. I think in the second half of last year, there was about 200% increase in phishing messages and 700% increase in credential phishing attacks. The social engineering side of this is what is most scary with the AI side, just becoming more sophisticated and scalable. And part of that is social engineering accounts for almost all the cyber attacks, 70 to 90% of those. And an example of this I like to mention is a spoofed phone call from what sounds like your boss or an executive team member that's very naturally and conversant, asking for key information and just respond it in their tone of voice. So education is always important to say that I'll call you back or message you for more information to confirm the authenticity of that, because these deepfake calls can feel absolutely real. And the training on those new types of threats is essential. And as far as what's getting most under attack, healthcare is huge. Healthcare is close to my heart. That's where I worked for many, many years. So that healthcare industry, those records in healthcare are incredibly valuable in the dark market. And also manufacturing, those are tremendously huge as well, simply because of tons of proprietary data and operational technology that can't afford downtime. And you see that a lot more also with state actors to try to get that intel through that manufacturing industry.
Well, that's more than a little scary, especially the idea that you could seemingly be on the phone with someone when it's really just AI you're talking to. Now, Brett, with AI making attacks faster and harder to detect, how should organizations be rethinking their cyber defenses, and where should they be focusing their efforts?
That's a great question. You're exactly right. We can't put up walls everywhere we around all the protected assets that we might have as an organization. With AI making those threat actors even more sophisticated and making them more efficient, cyber defenses have to react in the same commiserate amount of efficiency and try to find areas where they can use the technology for their own uses in detecting and preventing these attacks. So it's really taking on the same aspect of what the attackers are, which is utilizing AI to prioritize and give information and awareness around real-time asset awareness of what is being impacted, focusing your resources on your high-valued risks and using that intelligence to help your teams defend what matters most, right? Really what we're looking at and what we're seeing as a trend is being able to find some concrete gains in bringing to light where those threat indicators and where those resources can be applied to make the greatest gains or provide the most protection with the least amount of energy used, resources used, etc.
So, given all this, Ryan, how should companies rethink third-party risk management? Because that's often another large part of the risk problem for organizations.
Right, Adam. It's a huge aspect of that. And third-party ecosystems are increasingly the source of breaches. We see that a lot in healthcare with business associates, but uh, a lot of organizations still are only performing those surface level reviews, conducting a SOC 2, something very basic along those lines, and that's clearly insufficient. About a third of data breaches currently are caused by third party compromises of some kind. Some of the biggest ones we hear about are third parties. Simply a lack of due diligence around the AI use of third parties. I think a lot of organizations are scared to ask to some degree, but asking about their AI due diligence, their data practices with third parties, I think that's super important. And companies need to not be afraid to ask for AI usage policies, the data handling procedures, the controls around their AI use of third parties, and most importantly, I think, is documentation about their AI governance plan. So ensuring that there is a committee in place to assess the policies and ensure that they're following ethical and best practices related to AI for all their third parties who use or plan to use AI. And finally, continuous monitoring of third parties is critical. Cyber, financial, operational, not just those point in time reviews that we all know is important, but a great way to do that is with partners. There's a lot of good solutions out there that do that. I won't go into the names of all of those right now, but there's really good partners that do that continuous monitoring to keep you up to date, so you don't have to wait until you do another assessment.
And all of that to me talks really to the idea that you need to take a proactive approach and leads me to wonder what role does proactive risk intelligence play and where are companies falling short in that?
Right. I mean, most organizations are still super reactive. They discover risk only after something happens, and that's simply not scalable. With AI, there's going to be astronomical increases, exponential increases in the number of attacks. So that reactive approach is not sustainable. Um, part of this goes to a risk register, providing a living view of the risk posture, what's emerging, what's being mitigated, what's evolving. Risk scoring is super important, and those maturity assessments, allowing the security folks to allocate resources in an efficient way to find out where they can get the biggest bang for their buck. And automation plays a key role in this, in identifying trends and flagging issues early, reducing that human workload. And that's where AI can be a friend. It's not just a foe, but it can also be a friend in terms of remediating these attacks as well.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, Ryan. With utilizing AI and utilizing all the upstream resources that you can have to be proactive, it also is important for organizations to streamline their processes inside of an efficient tool that provides information in a single pane of glass and can inform business users of the risks at hand to make intelligent business decisions rather than react to poor decisions, to clean up the messes, but getting the information out in front of them before they sign the contracts, before they get too far down the process of selecting vendors. It's very important that GRC is brought into the forefront of the business decisions and not as an afterthought. That's one of the most proactive things across GRC and across the business that can be done to put GRC further up the stream in the decision-making processes in all areas of the business.
So all of this to me speaks to a challenge of keeping up with all the changes that are going on. What's the best way to do it, and what should the workforce training look like today? Because frankly, they need to be your eyes and ears as well. And the problems happen when somebody in the workforce falls for one of these phishing attacks or vishing attacks, as you call them.
I
I
can
think
touch on a little bit of that, Brett, and if you want to jump in on some other aspects here. But the one thing I would add is it's sort of a tiered approach to training. The general security awareness training and simulations are super important, and tying the training to policies and procedures and to specific roles that individual is in, so that it's not one training for all. I think that's super important. But Brett, I'm sure you have a lot to add to that.
no, I would really, yes. I mean, I would add on one of the things that I've seen across the industry in my time and my career is just the importance of being transparent to your employees, to your team members about what what the expectation is that in the assets that might be targeted, but also their role in securing the organization, taking on the aspect that everyone's truly is a community effort to keep your information um, supported and secure, and building that culture of awareness across the entire organization. It's not just the general training or the the once time a year or once a quarter security awareness training, but it's a constant messaging of how important the actions that you take each day as a single employee helps collectively protect the organization, and just being transparent about those types of threats that are out there, what is real and what is not, to get through the noise that you might hear on the open web.
And you make a very good point there at the end about the fact that there are real threats and then there are fake things that people spread around, and that can be needlessly distracting as well. Well, Ryan, Brett, thank you both so much for sharing those insights with us today. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to listen. I'm Adam Turtletop from SCCE and HCCA. I hope we are able to expand your compliance perspective.